What's up, everyone? How you doing? I was recently at a really cool arcade I stumbled upon called Penny Arcade. It's in Colorado. I was not aware of this place. I wanted to do a quick video and show you a quick tour of it. Super cool. First thing I noticed was this old school skee ball. Those are my kids playing it. Look how old school this is. It's like over 100 years old. The flaps tell the score. It's not digital. It's fully functional. That's one thing I was super impressed about this place. Over 400 games, arcades, pinball machines, and I'd say 95, 97% of them were working, which you go to, when you get that many arcade games, they tend to break down. This place is huge, by the way, and it's kind of rad. It's probably one of the most unique arcades I've been to in some time. There's 5 different rooms, and there's even an outside area, which I'm showing you here, that has arcade games. There is an overhang. I know what you're probably thinking. It snows in Colorado occasionally. Bad weather, what do they do? I'm not quite sure, but there's an overhang. This place, you can tell, has been here forever. It's in Manitou Springs. That city is outside of Colorado Springs, about 20 minutes outside of Colorado Springs, about an hour and a half from Denver, Colorado. And if you are in the Denver area or in Colorado, anywhere close to this place, I definitely recommend you check it out. They do have a nice mix, not only of old school arcade games, but they have also modern games too. They have the new Turtles game, which I'm going to show you in a second, which is super cool. My kids really enjoyed it. They have this classic racehorse game that you see a lot of times at fairs. I love this racing game. Super cool. And here's some modern games, of course, as well. Looks like they have a Cruisin' Blast there in the corner. A really fun game, came out several years ago. Here's a more modern skee ball, ice ball. You can see a big difference between that one and the one I showed you earlier. That's probably over 100 years old. Some of these games and machines are going back to the 1930s. And the reason they call this a penny arcade is because even some of the games today are still only a penny. There's no game over $1.50 to play, which I think is pretty reasonable. So that's really cool. But the one thing I will say about going here, though, the place was packed. And finding parking in Manitou Springs is a major headache, and the city needs to do something about it because finding street parking is near impossible. And it took me about a half hour to find parking. I was lucky enough to find a spot close by, but again, be prepared to spend some time finding parking. They definitely need to fix that. That's cool. It's a Sega Star Wars arcade. It came out in the 1997, I believe, during the special edition era. Super cool. It's hard to see. The sign was also in 3D. Classic House of the Dead. Here's the X-Men from Stern. Came out probably 10 years ago or so. Ghostbusters by Stern. A really great game. If you haven't played it before, highly recommend it. There's some more modern Star Wars game by Stern. San Francisco Rush. Here's Injustice Arcade. And Lord of the Rings by Stern. And check out the old school Coke machine. The Star Trek Next Generation pinball, one of my favorites. And again, back to the old school Coke machine from the 80s. How cool is that? Of course, Asteroids, classic vector graphic game for sure. And Zoltar, I think that's from the movie Big. Well, not specifically that one, but I believe that was in the movie, that particular type of machine anyway. Here's some more games. That's a fun one. You can shoot those characters down. That's cool. Look how old school this is. Pro Hockey. These are some more classic games you can see. Look to the right. A Virtual Racing Sit Down by Sega. I kind of glanced over that fairly quick, but that is super cool. You don't see that in the wild very often at all. Some more classic games here. Another Joust. They did have multiple games. Kind of like 3 or 4 Miss Pac-Mans, for example. So they do have multiple games. Here's a closer look at the Virtual Racing. Love it. And it worked great. Played great. The old pistol game there. Some of these are crazy old. Robotron. Super cool. Here's Q*bert. I just met Warren Davis, the creator of Q*bert. One of the guys who's behind it. Super nice guy. Super down to earth. And I love this arcade because the arcade stick is diagonal. It can go northeast, northwest. It'll go northeast, southwest, whatever. But Beatles pinball, of course. Classic. Here's a cool one. That's the Avengers Pinball. So a nice mix of classic pinball and more modern. You can tell they've got a lot more modern Stern games here. Some of these are really old school pinball. This is a really fun baseball game here. Love it. Super classic. A lot of fun. A lot of these games are only $0.25 to play, which isn't bad. Pretty reasonable. There's another baseball game. They're a more modern version of Street Fighter 2. I believe that's by Gottlieb. And kind of a more unique game. Here you go, more games in the 90s. Oh, this is a weird one. I'm not quite sure what this was. It's like a basketball. I don't know. It's weird. Here's the other section was outside. Another San Francisco Rush. I believe that's the second one now that we've spotted. Lethal Enforcers. How impressive is it that these games are actually working, which is crazy. Super cool. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. Cool. There's Cruisin' World. Saw Cruisin' Blast earlier. Hang On by Sega. That's a lot of fun. That's a great one. Here's a Star Wars Return of the Jedi by Atari. That's such a pretty rare game right there. Super cool that they had that. There's a Miss Pac-Man. How many of you spotted so far? Of course, a bunch of rides for kids. Here's Tokyo Drift. There are my kids playing. Here's the Turtles game I was talking about earlier. Love it. That's by Raw Thrills. Super fun. Beat 'em up. Frogger. There's a game you can see outside. Weather was super hot when I was there. It was nice weather. There was pretty clear skies. Look at that old school Pepsi machine. I love that. You don't see those in the wild very often. The old school Pepsi, not old school pricing, $1.25, but nonetheless, very cool that they have that there. Super fun. This is one of the small rooms. I'm really curious on the history of this place. I think it's been open probably for a while. I mean, it looks like it's been here for some time. I'm not quite sure what these shops used to be, but it's a big part of the town, the community. I'm not quite sure what this game's about. Here's Wacky Ducks. My kids, one of my favorite games playing was Whack-A-Mole. They probably played it a lot. They figured they could both play at the same time and whack the moles and get a whole bunch of tickets. That's what my kids are all about. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Appreciate subscribing. Let me know what you guys think. We'll see you soon. Take care and game on.